Where do I find it on here?
It should just pop up. Go to videos. I would think that it is.
Oh, perfect. I'm gonna copy this over there.
See if we can see comments on these. I don't know how they'll pop up on here. Might be able to read them okay, just on the... Oh, that's you.
Yeah, I was just testing it.
Alright, I can
Yeah.
that.
This over here.
Hello, Annie Oakley. Thanks for joining us. Hello, Brenda.
Hello. Getting this cross-posted so everyone knows that we are live and we're good. There we go.
Cool.
Awesome. Yes, Sam is feeling much better. I wouldn't say quite 100%. He's still kind of tired, but a whole lot better.
Oh, man, I feel way better.
You were pretty wiped out.
Hello, Anita.
Hello. Yeah, Sam's not... He used to be like the star of the show. He's not in a whole lot of videos anymore. The calming but bright color. I will say I did not choose this color. The house came this color.
That's true.
But I do. I like it. So, hello, Jamie. Or Janice, sorry. Can't read that far.
Hello, Melissa.
So, thank you, everybody, for joining us. I think we'll get started in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, we'll let some more people join. We used to do a decent number of live streams. Like, I don't know, we've probably done like 10.
Yeah, I would say so. Kind of
together. It's been a long time. Hello, Rose. Thanks for popping in. It's the color of your old kitchen. Oh.
I don't know.
We have a lot of this color in the house, actually.
Yeah, the whole house was kind of this. I think when the people wanted to sell it, they just bought as much of this color as possible and painted every wall in the house. So we've been slowly.
Well, and the last time I was at the store, they had, I can't remember what paint brand it was. It was a really good paint brand, but it was basically this color, really, really cheap. Like one of the oopsie colors, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we bought some of it.
Your aunt, I think that's your Aunt Holly. Hey, Judah.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you, Judah. We will definitely, Annie.
Mickey D's.
Annie loves Mickey D's.
She does. Thank you.
Thank you. We will get her some. Hi, Irene.
Yeah, my bout with COVID, it wasn't ever serious or anything like that. It just lasted so long. I've never, ever had anything last that long. All right. Yeah, we are live.
Yeah, I mean, you were sick. You started feeling sick on Wednesday last week, and today is the first day that I say you feel pretty much like yourself. So that's almost 2 weeks.
Well, I had 2 Sundays ago, I actually felt like decent, but then it just went downhill. I was just exhausted all the time with a massive headache, basically. I could do a little work in the morning and then just sleep all day. Hey, Paul.
And we got, let's see, Prep for Eternity Homestead. How you doing? We got a bunch of people here. This is awesome. Thanks for joining us tonight. We thought we would have some fun and laugh at ourselves a little bit, but also, in good humor, talk about some of our favorite things that we've done, some of our favorite mistakes, I guess you'd call them, or funny stories, just kind of reminisce. Because we have been here, so I was thinking about this. We moved to the Teal House. We bought the Teal House and worked on it for about a year, and then we moved to the Teal House the month before Annie was born, and she is almost 6. So we've been living here for almost 6 years.
We got in the house like right before she was born.
Yeah.
Though. Like literally like a week or 2.
Your wife made you move to the house right before she was born because I didn't want to try to move with a newborn. So we moved in, and then she was born like 2 weeks later. So Annie said she had COVID for 3 weeks. The leg pain at night was unbearable, and she said the exhaustion lasted a month. Ooh, wow. So, well, I hope you're feeling 100% now, Annie. It was definitely rough, and I'm very thankful that we were able to isolate him from everybody else, so nobody else has gotten sick.
Thank you, Prep for Eternity. Thanks for joining us. All right.
So do you have a story, or do you want me to start?
About something we messed up on,
or just a funny remembrance?
I don't know. Funny remembrance? What?
I think some of the funniest videos, and when we're done with this, I'm going to find it and link below. We have some goats. Oh, speaking of goats, they're from Chickawolf. Chickawolf hooked us up here with some awesome goats, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long was this?
And Brooke's here too. Nice.
Hey, Brooke.
I don't know now. It feels like it's been a couple years, but I know it's been like 3 or 4.
Chickawolf, do you remember, as we had the girls, was it 3 years ago maybe, you brought the 3 ladies down to us? But anyway, we got these goats, and Sam is an epic researcher. He has to read every literature ever written about anything before he's going to jump in, which is probably a very good thing, because I'm more of just a jump in and try it kind of person, which with livestock, you definitely want to be prepared. But he read like all this stuff, and he had this plan on how we were going to keep these goats in, and those goats were not going to outsmart us. We were going to be those people that had the goats figured out from the beginning.
Hi, Adrian.
And so anyway, I don't know how many fences we went through in the course of a year trying to figure out how to keep these goats in.
Yeah.
But we have this video about a year into our goat journey where he was so excited and so sure that he figured out the perfect plan to keep the goats in, and we made this whole video, and there's a scene at the end, he's talking about how this is working, and over the back corner of his shoulder, you literally see these 3 goats sailing over the fence, as he's talking about how he's keeping them in, just like, sorry, bro. But we finally got it figured out.
It took me 3 years to figure out how to keep goats in.
I'm gonna have to I'll link that video below when we're done here, because he's just chatting along, and then all of a sudden you see this goat go whoop, and then another one, just right over the fence like it's no big deal.
Yeah, if one goes, they all go. At least that's what it felt like with our goats. They were definitely they stick close together. So if one goes, they're all gone.
They're all gone. So, but
that's true.
Since then, we've been using the turbo wire. And you have to have it like 5 strands high, but it really does.
Well, I think the key. Never heard that story. Yeah, it is a funny clip actually. No, I feel like the key is to getting it grounded really well.
That's true too.
I think that was my problem.
Get a good zap.
Yeah. If you've got it, see, before I used Premier ones. They have their little solar fence chargers that you can move around. And if you ground those, they'll work well. But I was just grounding them with the little spikes, and it did nothing.
So Anita says no more goats, that they've settled for cows and chickens. And I'm rooting for a milk cow. Even now, just with the size of our family, a goat, we needed the 3 to keep enough milk coming. A cow would be better. So, what do you need, babe?
I need to go potty.
Okay. JJ is going potty.
The kids are all upstairs playing right now.
So, what else we got? I mean, I got a whole list, but do you have any?
I don't know. I can't think of a lot of funny ones, honestly.
It's probably not funny because they happen to you, and I'm just watching.
I can think of a lot of mistakes and things we did wrong. Things like even now, I've still, I don't know why I can't give up on this idea of having ducks and chickens together. But the ducks are just so messy with the chicken stuff. I still need to try and figure that out a little bit. I'm kind of fighting that now. The ducks just get water everywhere. You try to give the chickens water, and the ducks are just crazy in it. They do. It makes it muddy everywhere.
So, okay. What is it? Oh, yeah. We need a cow. I agree. I agree with everyone who says we need a cow. We're working on it. The biggest thing holding us back from our cow is probably the infrastructure, right? Don't really have... Our barn isn't very tall.
Yeah, it's really, really short.
So, that's... probably not a good fit. No, wait. Sorry. Okay. She's running around half dressed.
We're having we've got a wardrobe malfunction. Hey, thanks for that. Oh wait, no, I missed it. Let me get it. Let's see. There we go.
You get it?
Your husband won't have. Yeah, I think I hit him.
See, yeah, Pete says we can't get our ducks.
Oh yeah, Paul. I forgot about that. Yeah, Paul's never had a roof fall on him. We got video.
Oh, we
of
have
that
video
too.
of this too. So Paul is Sam's brother. What were we doing?
So the chicken house that we have now, which is in a bad spot, it's in a really low spot. It's a conglomeration of like 3 different chicken coops that I combined together, and I had a roof for the main part, but we had to tote it down the hill, and it was kind of like it is now. It was like icy and snowy, and Paul and I have it, and I don't know if it's as we're coming down the hill or trying to lift it up, but as we're trying to get it up there, Paul slips, and it looks like he just gets completely flattened by the whole roof system. Fortunately, he was okay,
fine.
though.
It was pretty scary. I mean, we got it all in camera.
He basically just slid down the hill, but it looks like he just disappears under the whole thing. It was scary, but he made it okay.
So Dean Family Anchor says, feels like the cows are easier to keep alive than goats. The heat and parasites love each other. It doesn't get too hot. I mean, it gets hot here. But I imagine, I think Dean Family, are you in South Carolina? Is that right? I think it's probably pretty humid. Does that affect parasites? Just being all the time?
Yeah, I think some of that will affect parasites for sure. I'm reading about ducks. We've got the phone here and then Laura's computer over here.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much. We will put it towards our future cow. We are getting there a little bit. Everything takes one step at a time around here. So.
Yeah, I'm reading about people's duck solutions. I love ducks too. I feel like they can be more hardy and lay more consistently than chickens, especially like in cold weather. But yeah, they are messy.
But I think with our goats, we haven't really had I probably shouldn't say this out loud. We haven't really had that many like parasite problems.
We did, but I've
got a
solved
system.
It just takes you a while, when you first start with some of those animals, to figure out your own system and what works best for your area and such. So it took me a couple of years, but I think we got it figured out now. The pecans we have are thriving in the cold of Vermont. Yeah, the ducks do great in cold.
And it's nice because they lay. They don't care. They lay all year round, it feels like.
Yeah.
But the chickens get really picky, and then you're feeding them, and they're just freeloading, and you're not getting anything.
Yeah.
So. All right, so I was thinking, or there's a video that we have that the girls love to watch. It's called like a series of unfortunate events, and I was just thinking about that. But the video has it's way back from when we first started, and we really didn't know what at all we were doing, and you guys were like trying to chop wood or something like that, and it was just like a bunch of city boys trying to tink it with a little axe. Because you weren't wailing it back to try it. Now you're like a wood chopping fiend. You get out there and like one-handed it. But
no, I don't know about that.
You guys were like hitting the wood.
No,
and
that might be one of my favorite videos that we've ever made.
Everything went wrong because we had no idea what we were doing.
So you've got hello from Tessa. Let's see. Judah says...
thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you, Mary. Wow.
That's awesome. Another one for our cow fund. Before this live stream is over, we might have a barn for our cow.
Let's see. Judah. Oh, yeah. What homestead animal do you think serves best as a show animal for 4-H? We haven't done 4-H. I never did it growing up. So that one's out of my comfort zone a little bit. But I do know that you can do, chickens and rabbits and smaller things like that, especially if you don't have a lot of land, or like us, if you have small kids. Things like, chickens and rabbits and such would be really easy for people to do.
We've been talking about this spring letting the girls pick something that they would like to raise on their own. But then we haven't decided, the idea was that they would each pick something small. Micah and Ivy, they're 8 and 7. Micah's almost 9. And so, but the problem is now they both want to raise breeding rabbits, but then they each have 3 rabbits, and then you would end up with like 6,000 rabbits by the end of the year, which isn't a good idea. So we're not quite sure how to solve that problem as parents. Who don't feel like it's fair to just pick one, to let one do it and make the other one pick something else. So.
Yep, I am feeling better. Thanks for jumping in, Danielle.
So, Chicka Wolf says that Daphne does meat goats for 4-H.
Okay, yeah.
You can do about anything, right? I don't any farm animal really.
Yeah, pretty much any farm animal you can do for 4-H.
Pete says he did that with our kids and ended up with 10 rabbits.
Yeah.
See, that's the if they all have breeding sets, then all of a sudden we got like overrun by rabbits.
Let's see.
We did talk about getting a bottle calf to start it to raise for meat, and that it would be a good experience for the girls. But again, the problem of having shelter for it when it gets larger, because our barn is so low. We weren't quite sure how to solve that problem. Though I did see, I think it's Thousands of Roots Homestead. They have like a hoop house that almost looks like our greenhouses that they use for their cow. So something like that might be a cheaper
I know cows. Cows don't really need much structure, but I do want to make sure that we're all set up for them before we do it. We've made that mistake before. You get animals and you're not quite ready.
That's not fair to the animals.
Yeah.
So, and it's also not good for your stress level. So, what do you think has been like, I would say, like, what's your worst homestead decision? Not as in, like, necessarily that something bad came out of, but that wasn't a smart move.
I think early on, and each year we've gotten better at it, so that's good. But with our wood stove, our learning curve was really, really high because, like, I grew up and we had a fireplace, but we didn't use it that much, and it wasn't your main heating source at all.
Over here, JJ. Over here.
Here, go see Mommy on the other side, baby.
I can't get the
Go around so you don't stall on the fire. But we had like our first few years we used really, really green wood, which was to try and burn, which is it's just maddening. You can't ever get your stove hot enough, and it takes forever to try and get it started and really going. It was terrible.
You know what I think our worst choice ever was, and we're still kind of paying for it? We moved here and we decided that we were going to, have a garden, and there was a garden area set up. They had like these raised beds and a fence, these rock beds. And we thought, well, gee, if they grew a garden here, that must be the place to have the garden. It was like the worst choice ever. It's so far from the hose that the hose doesn't reach it, so it's hard to water. You have to lug water. And it's got like foundation stones in there. I mean, he's pulled out massive, like, cellar rocks.
I think it was more of a flower garden. And we had people, well, like every time we do something about the garden and we show more stones pulling out, everyone says it was a great
Paul
graveyard.
Says, oh my, those rocks. Yeah, Paul's helped us pull out many of those rocks.
Paul has helped us pull out a ton of those rocks.
Welcome, Diana. Thanks for joining us.
Who else? We missed somebody else. Oh, Tammy. That's what she said. Yeah, putting that garden there was.
But now I'm like so invested because I've done so much to like improve the soil that I'm like don't want to give it up. But it's probably really stupid because we're still, every time we till it up, we still find more rocks.
I mean, I feel like
watering is a pain.
I still feel like we've gotten 90% of them out. Hey, Karen, thanks for hopping in. But yeah, you're right. That was probably a bad decision.
It just wasn't well thought out.
Yeah.
A lot of things that if you go back and do it again, hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah. But I do feel like with all of those decisions, we've learned, kind of. We've tried to get better,
So, Aunt Holly says.
Using grow bags.
I have some grow bags your mom gave me. I use them in our greenhouse, and they work great. They really do for plants that don't need a large root system. I grew radishes in them and spinach and lettuce, and they're really neat. So I agree, Holly. Those are great.
Well, thanks for the nice words, Colleen. Thanks for joining us. What was I going to say? So each year, I was saying beforehand, one of the mistakes or things that we didn't do very well was having seasoned wood for our wood stove.
We didn't know what we were doing. We were that first year, we were so cold. So
we were kind of cold the first couple of years.
We got it figured out now. I'm sweating.
It's hot now.
It's hot. As long as you keep it going, it's pretty warm. It's impressive how much of the house it really does heat if you keep it going.
Yeah, it's got to be kept going. like rolling the whole time. But anyway.
So let me think. What else? I don't know if you all have any. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. If you have any questions for us, we're happy to answer questions too as well. Yes.
That's yes, if it's that is a good question. Hi, came over from Tessie's channel. Thanks,
welcome,
Robin. Yes, you do have to get it. It depends. I guess I would say our stove is kind of a cheaper one. We're real thankful to have it. We bought it brand new, but it's kind of a cheaper one, so it doesn't keep stuff. It's not very efficient, I guess.
It burns through the wood.
And the firebox is real small for it. So yeah, we have to. I'd say if it's going to be below 20, then usually our game plan, I'll stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning, feeding it, making sure it's nice and full, and then Laura will get up at like 5.
And restart it.
And that keeps the house like perfectly warm.
I mean,
like,
no
issues.
It's not fair to the kids, if they wake up and the house is really cold or something like that. So if you do that, then you don't really notice a dip in the temperature. So can you can on a glass stove? That is a great question, Brooke. So you can on a glass top stove, but you would want to make sure that the canner you buy is rated for a glass top stove.
I can get yours.
Yeah. Some pressure canners are concave up on the bottom, and what can happen is you sit it on your glass stove and you heat it up, and it suctions to the glass top, and it'll actually explode. So you need to find one that's flat on the bottom. So this one is, what is this? This is my Presto. It's flat on the bottom, and so that would be safe to use. And you'd also want to be careful. That one is called it's a Presto 23 quart. If you look at any of my canning videos, I have it linked in the description if you wanted to look it up. But that one is a really safe one.
This one's not safe.
This one is my Tefal. It's not safe.
So it's dented in there.
So it'll suction to your stove and it'll explode the glass. So great question. That's a good question. So, Nova Scotia. Sammy Joe, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, Take Me to Tammy's House says, I'm scared of wood heat because of our grandchildren. How do you keep your children away from the wood heater?
Well, the first, Micah and Ivy, I don't know, we've debated putting a fence around our stove, and we just have never done it, or a baby gate or whatever. They make some things you can buy and such. And Micah and Ivy, when we first were here, they had not grown up around a stove or anything like that. And both of them have burnt themselves a little bit, like on their fingertips. And it bubbles up and it's not pretty. But, knock on wood, no one else has touched the stove. And I don't know if it's because they've grown up around it since they were tiny little babies. And they just, you can feel the heat that it puts off. And, in their little baby brains, they know not to touch it or what. But no one else has touched it. And we have some clumsy other children.
So. But I think it also helps. The stove is in the back of the kitchen. Like, you're not walking by it for any reason because there's nothing back here. And so the kids aren't even usually, like, back in this area of the house. So it's really not been a problem. And I don't feel like it's not safe.
Once in a while, we might have to warn them and say, hey, no playing around the stove. Like, they might chase each other through the kitchen or something. But for the most part, they're playing somewhere way far away.
I think it's like anything, teaching them to use knives. We teach them to use knives when they're really little to help in the kitchen. When they know how something works, they're able to respect it and be safe around it. Mm. So I think it's the same way.
We had Kelly, hello from Alabama. Tiny kids are another story for sure. I mean, when we have a baby that's crawling,
we block off. I have a baby gate they can't come in the kitchen.
Yeah, we will block off the kitchen when we have a little baby that's crawling or toddling around. They'll stay in the living room. They can't get to the kitchen because that would be different for sure. But once they turn like 2 or so, I'd say we're done with baby gates and they can go wherever. They just kind of figure it out.
Brenda says, I would love wood heat. It is nice. And I don't know for sure, but I think one of the reasons we managed to keep anybody else from catching COVID when Sam had it is because we weren't running an HVAC unit in the house, sucking air from one room around. And wood heat's really dry too. and so which isn't good for viruses living. So I think that's something that maybe helped Sam's isolation be so effective. So it just, and it's not like, it feels warm. It's nice to like come in from outside, freezing your buns off outside, and coming in and sitting right in front of the stove. Like,
Yeah,
it's great.
It's
a great
really
feeling.
good. It's a great way to dry all the coats and gloves and socks and stuff too when they come in from playing. But yeah, if you've been outside working, you need to warm up. You can just plop down in front of that stove. It does feel really good.
So Irene says boys are another story. They are much more daring than girls, or at least that's how my grandsons were.
We'll
see. I mean, Patton is only 5 months, so he's not adventurous yet. It's coming. But Ivy's the one who keeps us on our toes as far as the kids.
Yeah.
She's not afraid of anything, sometimes to her own detriment. So.
Let's see. Didn't hear about COVID. Glad you're doing better. Yes. Yeah, I did my best to stay in isolation for about 10 days from the rest of the family. We really didn't want anyone else catching it, and so it worked. Everybody else is fine. So
that's really good.
Yep.
So we're fine. Trying to think.
I think we've talked before too. Like, I think we'll always try and do wood heat, some form of wood heat. Mm-hmm. I mean, it might change over the years. I don't know, but.
The hardest thing with the wood heat is because you have to really stay on top of it. So if you have to be gone for a day, then you're in trouble. And Annie, with her medical issues, like her muscles are really sensitive to temperature change. And so if we have to be gone all day on a really cold day and you have to come home to a cold house and then it takes hours to warm the house up, it's hard on her body.
If we're gone for a whole day, like we leave early in the morning and don't get back till 10 or 11 o'clock at night, it'll take like that whole next day almost to heat up, to like truly like warm up the whole house. It almost takes a whole day, but most of that's just living in a real drafty old house. So.
All right, so we talked about your worst. What do you think your best decision has been? Like, what's worked out really well, or that you would recommend that somebody who's starting a homestead, like, you should do this too because it really worked out for us?
Oh yeah, that's Paul's question. Your favorite decisions made homesteading. Maybe this is cheating, but to me it matters a lot because for the most part I'm kind of in charge of the stove. But having, like, if you know you're gonna heat with wood, like start saving and splitting and stacking it now. Because if you can have like a couple years supply, like, it's like, heat security kind of for yourself. It just, when I know that we've got enough, I'm like, it's a good feeling.
It's nice to not, like, with winter storms where we are, if the electricity is going to go out, it's inconvenient, but like we're not going to be cold, and that's really feels really nice to know.
Let's see. I mean, I do like getting the goats, like, as frustrating as that was for 3 years, not being able to keep them in. Let's see.
So, Jepco, thank you very much. And we hope that you're feeling better, that you're healing from COVID. So thank you very much.
Oh, no. So. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we hope you feel better, too. I'm feeling so much better. Oh,
I now want to go take
so nice.
Like a 4-week nap, though. So.
Yeah, poor Laura.
It was really...
had to do everything by herself.
And it was so mentally, like we were just working towards surgery day, and then to have that moved 2 weeks back, it was just, like, mentally devastating. I'm so tired.
I was going to say about the goats. As frustrating as it was for them to get out constantly on me, they're really rewarding, though, to be able to go out there every morning. It's like, I don't know, there's something about it when everything's going the way it should be and you know what you're doing, and it's like it's easier for you. But going out there and milking the goats is real peaceful and serene. And there's some things in homesteading that you do and the reward like takes a long time to get there. And I guess it sometimes being able to milk goats, like, there's some waiting, but being able to go out there every morning and milk those goats and have that reward right in the pail, like, immediately, I enjoy that.
So Brooke asked, what's one of the biggest money savers that you do on the farm? And I would say for me, 2 things. canning, even if it's not stuff you're growing, just canning in general, like being able to buy stuff when it's in season and on like super sale and put it up for the whole year. Like it saves us so much money, and it makes it shelf stable, so you're not spending a lot of money on extra freezers and stuff. And then just trying to not use disposable products, like using the cloth diapers. We have like washing and cleaning up rags, things like that. Just everything that you buy that you use one time and then it goes into the trash can. It's literally just like taking your dollar bills and throwing them into the trash can. And there's times in our life where those things are important or really useful. Like, when I have a baby, we always use disposable products for a little bit because you're just so busy, you don't have time to wash everything. But as soon as we can, we get back to not using them because it's just such a money suck on the budget.
Right.
What do you feel like on your end, at least with the animals? What's the biggest money saver you have?
I mean, probably we aren't doing it quite as much now, but I think you can keep chickens depending on how many you have. I don't know if you can have, more than 100, but I mean, you could in certain circumstances, but I mean, for a small family, you can keep chickens on scraps and stuff like that pretty darn cheap. You can give them just a little bit of food, just to kind of make sure that they're getting all their nutrients met, but then the rest can be, I mean, they're just about like pigs, where you can feed them just about anything as far as your leftovers and such go, and you'll get eggs for free.
So take me to Tammy's house. Says, how's the greenhouse doing? So the greenhouse is not doing anything right now. So we have 2 greenhouses that are kind of DIY. It's basically just a hoop house with construction plastic over it, really cheap. But they are unheated, so in January it's just too cold where we live. Nothing will grow, even though it can't rain or snow in there. It's just too cold. So we picked the last stuff out of them right for Christmas, and then I will replant them again probably end of February, and then it'll be round 2. So if we had a heated greenhouse, we'd do it all year, but not with the setup we have now. So it is cleared out, and I actually just finished filming a video about getting it all set up for the spring, so that's coming up soon. It'll be ready to be replanted. So, do we have garden or just a greenhouse from Super Pup? We have both. We have a in-the-ground garden, we have a greenhouse, and last year we tried a container garden, which I give a 0% recommendation because it was way more work than planting plants in the ground. So, if you have, maybe that's my worst homestead decision. I was so pregnant and I set up that huge container garden with my big belly, and it was so much work, and then it ended up being like weeding would have been easier than trying to keep up with the watering of that container garden. So I should have just planted it in the ground.
We're going to put a wood stove in there.
That's a great idea. So
I like that. And you probably don't have to have to keep it going all the time. You just do it every couple of days to keep
the warm. Yeah, that's true.
You just every few days put a little fire in there, keep it nice and toasty.
Got a new project for you.
Yeah. I'm sure you can find stoves and stuff like that really, really cheap, or make your own. It would work just fine.
Use one of those, what do they call them, like the rocket stove?
Yeah, one of those little rocket stoves. That would work well.
It really doesn't have to be, the plastic is so good at like retaining heat. You don't really need to pump it like you do to heat a whole house. That'd probably work. I'd be interested, Pete, to see how that works for you. What kind of stove you end up using, and how often you actually have to fire it up.
It depends how big his greenhouse is. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
That's a good idea.
Do you have any other stories to maybe wrap it up with a
I'm trying
story?
To think.
I'm trying to think.
I can't think of the funny ones. You and Paul remember those.
Remember that time we had Paul come? We made his brother Paul come out. We decided, what was the name of that garden where you put the raised bed on top of like this 6-foot pole?
Yeah, it's I can't remember. It's like a German name. It starts with an H. I forget what it's called.
There's a garden, you like dig a giant hole and you fill it with like mulch and tree limbs and random stuff, and then you put your raised bed on top and fill it with dirt. And we decided first when we moved out here that we were going to build that kind of garden. And we had his brother.
Yeah, not the very, very beginning, but
it was pretty. Well, we had your brother come out, and we made him. It looked like they were out there digging their grave. Yeah,
I don't know how you pronounce that. Frugal culture. Yeah. Digging my own grave.
Exactly. We had him out. He's in the hole, like shoveling the dirt over his shoulder, and then we did all of that work, and we never actually planted it.
It's true.
So I can't tell you if it really works. we ended up just filling the hole in, and that's where my compost pile is now. So.
Hey, Red Shed, thanks for popping in.
Hey, thank you.
We had another question too. How do you test your seeds?
We tested our seeds. I used coffee filters. You just make them a little wet, and you wrap the seeds up in them, and then you stick it in an airtight container, so like a Ziploc baggie, and then you just check them every 3 days or so, depending on you would want to look at the packet and see what the germination is for your seed, whether it's like 3 days, some seeds are 2 weeks, it just depends. And then you want to see if your sprout looks like it's got a good root on it.
I started to think as you're telling all these stories, I think I know now why Paul has so many back issues.
Yeah,
because he comes out here to help us.
We make him do terrible jobs.
We make him do all the...
You made him come out. He had to pull our fence out with you. Didn't you do that?
He's done that. Yeah.
What else have we made you do, Paul?
He's done lots of firewood.
He's pulled rocks out of our garden.
Yeah, pulled rocks out of our garden. Yeah, Paul's done a lot out here.
So.
Love, hate.
The beard.
Love, hate the beard shave. We need more beards. I don't know. I've had I had a beard there for a long, long time.
You did.
I've been rocking the mustache now for a while. I like it.
See, I like the beard more than the mustache, but you love your cowboy mustache.
I'm just drinking decaf coffee. Hi from Canada. Thanks, Angie. Yeah, Laura does like the beard better. Mm-hmm. I do. I do miss it. The kids play with the beard
a lot. Babies.
Yeah, the little babies a lot more than the mustache for sure. Although Patton, a couple weeks ago before I got sick, he was playing with it. It's really cute.
It just feels cool.
I'm telling you, it was the best feeling in the world when I finally came out of trying to isolate to keep everyone else from being sick. And hey, Kathy, thanks for jumping in. And he was out in his little pack and play. He was sitting up. Sat down out there in the living room, and I took, because I'd been wearing a mask too. Like, we were doing our best not to. Pete says his wife shut down the mask.
She's a smart lady, Pete. His driver's license picture looks like a convicted felon. Got this mustache and this cheesy grin.
I don't know.
Anyway, go ahead.
But I finally took the mask off, and Patton looked at me. He just started laughing. Like, that's how happy he was that I was finally out. We could interact.
So Angie came to us from Tessie. So yes, thank you, a huge thank you to all of you and to Tessie for giving us a big shout out.
She gave us a couple of shout outs.
And that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this live stream, because we knew we had a lot of new subs that we wanted to be able to say hi to and maybe introduce ourselves a little bit. So thank you to everyone for joining us.
Right, Kelly. We've got video of tilling that garden the first few times on all those rocks, man. And that tiller that we have, it's my dad's, and I'm so thankful he lets us use it. But the thing's front tine, and it's like wrestling an alligator every single year. But I am thankful to have it.
Have you ever had a soot fire in the stovepipes? No.
We do. Our first year, I was so nervous about that we scrubbed it out like every other week that first year, I swear. And we didn't know what we were doing. But if you burn nice seasoned wood, and at least once or twice a day, you burn it nice and hot, like between 300 and 400 degrees for... It doesn't even have to be that long. I'd say 20 or 30 minutes, maybe an hour long. If you do that, the soot really shouldn't be a problem most of the year. What I'll do is, you can kind of, for us, Laura's got a good smeller on her, and you can kind of smell it when it starts building up.
like a nicotine smoke, like somebody's been smoking a cigarette.
And so if she tells me that she can kind of start smelling something, I'll wait for a warm day and we'll completely shut it down. And then I'll climb up on the roof and look inside here and clean it out really good. So I'd say on average, we probably clean it out once or twice a burn season. Honestly, last year, I don't know, did I?
Yeah, you cleaned it out.
Cleaned it out once.
That's Sam's favorite chore too, because he loves heights and high places.
Yeah, it's not my
favorite.
There's
that time he almost fell off the roof. I remember that one because we were in the kitchen and we heard it, and he ninja caught it with his heels.
That's not even what happened. The pitch right where the stove comes out of the ceiling up there, or on the roof, it's really, really steep, and I usually slide down on my rear end, but it was so slick. I don't know why I got up there, but it was all icy, and I literally slid all the way down, all the way across the roof, and my legs were dangling off the edge of the roof when I stopped. I don't know how I stopped in time, but I did. And it's not that far of a fall. I don't think I would have gotten hurt, but it makes you think twice.
Rotary brush that you attach to a drill so you can clean the stove from the
I've got a friend that got one of those. Oh, we have the cutest kids.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to, you may have said this earlier, but to everybody that sent stuff in for Annie,
thank you.
For when she does go to the hospital, all those cards and gifts, man, it's gonna make her so happy, and I think it's really gonna make her time in the hospital go by faster for her.
She knows that she's having surgery. She's had surgery before when she was like 3. It was a minor one though, but this one I don't think, like, we try to explain it to her, but she's a little bit delayed anyway, so I don't think she really understands. But like, they won't be allowed to get out of bed for the first 3 days, and that's going to be really hard for her. She's an active little girl. So just today I was going through all the cards that we got, and I separated them into different piles and like wrapped them up. So I'm going to pretend that each day like the mailman is coming to the hospital for her and delivering a packet of mail, and it's going to give her something to look forward to, because it's going to be hard having to lay flat on her back in bed, not allowed to get up for a few days. So I was thinking though, we can maybe end with a funny story. I think it's funny. We're talking about the wood stove. When we first moved here, friends of ours at church, Carol and Jerry has since passed away, so remembering kind of a funny story.
Annie is 5.
Yeah, Annie is 5.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a fire in their stovepipe. And he was talking about, and this was like years and years ago, how he had scrambled up on the roof and dumped salt down the chimney to stop the fire, right? And, we heard that story, and I was new to the homestead, and I was like, oh, we need to be prepared. And I figured salt is, like, I figured that he got up there with, like, a Morton salt shaker, like, from the grocery store, and just, like, dumping this little salt thing down there. So I went to the grocery store, and I bought one of those little, like, cooking canisters of salt, and had it in the kitchen. I was like, oh, now I'm good. And then Sam was like, no, babe, he got up there with, like, 20-pound bag of water softener salt and dumped it down the chimney. But I thought he was up there just like shaking it in. So we're now prepared. So, and we also keep ashes to snuff it out.
Yeah, some ashes. That's a trick I learned from Wrangler Star. He says it works anyway. I've never had to test it, but he says he keeps his ash bucket mostly full, and that way, if you get a fire, you can dump that ash bucket either in your stove here, or go up on top and dump it down your pipes, and it won't ruin anything. If you spray it with like a fire extinguisher, those chemicals and stuff, it might ruin your stove. I don't know if you'd ever get that smell out of there. But anyway, that's what he says he does. But we do have fire extinguishers too.
But I think like with a wood stove, it's a lot like with pressure canning. It scares a lot of people because it's not as common anymore. But like if you are really diligent about following your safety protocols, like it can be done safely.
I know.
But you can't get lazy. You can't be like, oh, I'm just too tired to do it. Like you have to do it right every time.
I remember when we first, for a few things, when we first got it, the stove is constantly making noise because that metal, as the stove heats up and kind of cools down, the metal is always popping and just making all kinds of noise. And I always thought, at least when we first had it, something wrong was going on, you know. And what else was I gonna say? Oh, and when you do research, like I like to do, you know, half the stories you read are about how people burn their house down with their stove, and you're like, maybe this isn't a good idea, because a lot of people don't shut it, or they the one the one of the best tips is to crack your stove, but that's what gets people in trouble.
You can't walk away and forget.
You can't walk away from your stove when you've cracked it and just leave, because that's a good time to burn your house down. Let's see, we missed the question.
So Irene says, can you burn any type of wood? That's a yes and a no. Depends who you ask.
Yeah, I would say there are a lot of people that'll tell you like, oh, you can't. It has to be all hardwood. You can't burn pine and cedar and stuff like that. But that's not true, because there's people like in Washington State and such, and that's all they have is cedar and pine to burn. And as long as you're careful, there was one year that we burned a ton of cedar, and yeah, it does leave a little bit more creosote, but as long as you're not trying to burn it really low and slow, and you do make sure that it gets hot, you'll be okay. So yeah, you can pretty much burn anything, but hardwoods are better. They last a long time.
And Elsie asked, how many chickens do you keep, and do you prefer any particular breed?
Right now we've got 8 chickens, I think.
It's not very
7
many.
or 8. It's not very many, and 3 ducks. We probably need more. I'd like to get closer to 20. So we'll, like you do every spring, you get more chickens and ducks and such. Breeds, like if you're just starting out, a lot of the Wyandottes are real laid back breeds. Let's see. I like Orpingtons too. They're really laid back breeds, but if you want a good egg layer like a Rhode Island Red, those are kind of basic chicken breeds, really easy to find.
So, and have you done, is it Osage orange yet? Atomic level firewood? I don't think we've done that.
No, we do have Osage orange around, but no, we've not used that yet. You know what we've used? We've used a ton of elm, because we've had a few dead elm trees here on the farm, so we've used quite a bit of elm, and then we do use oak. The last. Oh, you've been burning hedge this year? Burns a lot different.
I think it's just like, you just have to know what you're burning and then know what the parameters are for it. If that's the right word.
I wouldn't mind every year having some cedar or pine. The best part about it is that it gets hot really fast, and so on the days when you need to restart your fire, or you've been gone all day and you need to get the stove hot again real fast, having cedar or pine's really nice, because and cedar smells good.
And our friend Charlie at church has a wood shop, and he saves all his like odd ends from his woodworking. A lot of it's pine, and we use those sometimes when we need to get it restarted once it's gotten cold. Putting those, because pine burn, it's just so easy to get started.
When it's from the store, like the 2x4s and stuff,
it dried.
When it's been kiln dried pine and stuff, it makes really good fire starters. If you know any friends that like to do woodworking and you can get some of their scraps, it helps a lot. My dad does the same thing. He'll just put it in a cardboard box for us, and we'll use it to start fires. It's nice, really convenient.
T-Hand 141, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So.
Yeah, Orpingtons they're good chickens.
Those were our first chickens. I don't think we have any right now.
We had buff Orpingtons, yeah. The hedge takes a while to get hot, but stays hot a long time. Yeah, that's the nice thing about those hardwoods, the really hardwoods like that. They can sit in your stove like half the day before the log's gone. It's really nice. It sounds like we've got a few coming downstairs.
Yeah, I think the kids are getting restless. We probably need to put them to bed. So, I think that's
pine knots to start fires. Yeah, my dad's talked about that. I can't remember what he calls it. Yep.
Good to see you, Dean family. Thanks for joining us. I think we're going to go log off because we got to put some little people to sleep.
Thank you all so much for being here and chatting with us.
Hey, Isla, do you want to say bye?
Bye.
Come here.
We got one little person who wants to say bye.
Here, say bye to the camera. Right, look, Rip.
Right there.
Oh, you. I guess you can kind of see
You
your
see?
face over there. You say bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. We'll try to do another live stream here next month. We'll
Yeah, we'll
let you
try
know,
and do it a little more often. I would say. Sorry, I saw another question. I know you keep trying to.
Is it
Pine dangerous to burn? Yeah, because of the sap. Yeah, that is true.
But you just have to keep an eye on your.
Yeah.
Is that just the creosote? You
Yeah,
just have to
keep
really keep
an
an
eye
eye
on
on your
creosote.
chimney. So.
Yep.
So thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys really soon, and we'll let you know next month when we're ready for another live stream. So
yeah, this was fun. We'll have to do it again for sure.
Take care. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good night.
Everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't know how do we stop this? Yes.